Dia Gwitch, everybody. Kojima Tashiv, and welcome back to episode number 152 of the Inline G Flute podcast with me, your host, Inline G. We've got another guest on the podcast, and we have a flute player, an actual flute player. The guests in this podcast can often be quite flute adjacent, we'll say. It will interest flute players to listen to them, but they may not play themselves. And it's been a wee while since I've sat down with someone and just really got my flute on, man. You know, getting into the nitty gritty of flute playing. And today's guest did exactly that with me. So I'm delighted about this. I've been following her for a while, and I've even seen her pass through Köln, my adopted home city here of Köln, many times doing concerts, but we've never quite found that little hour just to get together and talk. But this time we did. So without further ado, it brings me enormous pleasure to say this week's guest is Traverso superstar and podcaster, Darina Ablogina. So Darina was playing here as part of the Zamus Music Festival, which is a festival in Köln, part of the Zamus Centrum für Alte Musik. I went to see her play a concert as part of that festival and then went straight up to the green room afterwards to have a wee chat. Whilst the rest of the concert was playing beautifully in the background of this podcast, which might, with a bit of luck, will hopefully be picked up by these very expensive microphones and you get some lovely ASMR concerts in the background. So Darina is a Traverso player from Russia. She's now living in Switzerland. She also runs the Insight Reading Enlightenment podcast, which has mountains of episodes to go and enjoy. I really would encourage you to do that. And she also runs the Why White Wine podcast, a rocking podcast as well, all about white wine. So listen, regular listeners of this podcast, you will know the score, what I'm about to do now. You can skip ahead a minute or two. If you're new to the Inline G podcast, will you please lend me your ears for just one more minute? The Inline G podcast is free, and it will always be free. That is a guarantee. However, if you wish to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address, and for the audio listeners, it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute podcast. Link is in the bio. Listen, guys, this is the definition of a small independent podcast. I do everything around here on my own. Audio production, video production, graphic design, marketing, every single aspect, the script writing for the solo episodes, travel to meet guests, all done by yours truly. I love it. This has been the greatest creative project of my life, and I adore every second of it. You get an episode every single Friday of the Inline G podcast. That is ridiculous. Every Friday. I'm like the postman. I always deliver. There are no sponsors on the Inline G podcast because when they approach me, they say, oh, we'd love to sponsor you, but you can't swear. Or you can't talk about this, or you can't talk about that. They can go fuck themselves. This podcast is now the biggest flute podcast in the world, and it is 100% listener funded by you, dear listener. Thank you very much. So if you listen to this episode, or if you listen to a couple of episodes a month and think, fuck, I really enjoyed that, I'd love to support it, sign up to the Patreon. It costs €5 a month. You can even subscribe and then unsubscribe straight away, so it's like a one-off payment if you prefer to do that. But it really keeps this podcast alive. Without the patrons, this podcast would not exist. I cannot stress this enough. You won't get anything extra for it. You are just supporting it. Because I do believe the Inline G podcast should be free for everybody. So if you can afford to sign up, it would be incredibly appreciated. But if you can't afford, times are hard. And if you're an artist especially, €5, sometimes you don't always have that to spare. That's all right. You can keep listening for free. Someone else is paying so that you don't have to. Thank you very much. So, everybody, here is this week's Inline G podcast with the gorgeously eclectic Darina Ablogina. Now, I have to be very honest. I haven't been the kindest person in the world to Baroque flutes in this podcast.
Really?
Because
you were like
I wouldn't say mean about that. Yes and no.
Why?
Okay.
Tell me.
It's certain players I love. Okay, so when like Rachel, we're talking about when Rachel Brown plays, or Bartol Kuyukin, or someone like that plays, or Sebastian even.
Yeah.
When they play, you're like,
even.
Okay, like even, yeah. No, sorry, Sebastian. Fucking me's fine. Then I'm like, oh my god, they're amazing. Obviously they are, but okay, I want you to try and you're obviously. I've seen your concert. You did an amazing job. It was wonderful. Okay,
Thanks
I
so
loved
much.
it. So, how would you sell the Baroque flute to people, not myself, but people that would say, but why are we still playing these instruments? We've got modern instruments. They can do so much more. Why are we going back to these?
So basically, I think I would not try to sell anything, honestly, because I think
It's a bad start, Darina.
capitalism is really taking over our
Excellent
lives.
point. Okay,
so
excellent
I
point.
think
Well
maybe
made.
that's not the point. And I don't know, somehow my surrounding where I live, they don't really ask these kind of questions because somehow it's not. I don't want to criticize anybody's point of view, but I think nowadays people do so many different things. And if you want to play a Bach sonata on a modern flute or on a Baroque flute, like you're free to do so. And maybe you could learn something new when you play it on a Baroque flute, because the instrument will show you the way how to do it in an unconventional way. For instance, as if you would play it with a modern flute. So maybe to learn something new, I don't know. But on the other hand, I mean, I personally think that, of course, you can play everything beautifully with a modern flute. That's not a question that really, I agree. You can you can play everything like Penderecki or Bach or whatever. But I don't know, somehow, because I come from Basel and people are so used to play on period instruments. So it's really, I don't really have this dissonance inside of me, you know? It's not even a question. Like, even if I play Debussy sonata, I would look for a period flute, which is from the beginning of the 20th century. And I would try to learn how it would have sounded back then.
So where did your interest in Baroque flute start then?
Many years ago. I think back then I was still living in Moscow, and we have this, maybe you know Alexei Lyubimov. He is a great pianist and harpsichordist of our time, I would say, and he does play everything, Stravinsky, Couperin, Bach, everything. And Mozart, of course, on period instruments, on modern instruments. He's a genius. And so basically he founded this department at the Moscow Conservatory, I think already 35 years ago. I was really interested in it, and I've decided to try it out. And
Did you play Baroque flute before that?
No, never.
Okay,
never.
So it was just because of this guy you went, okay, I'm going to give it a go.
Yes. I was really impressed by the sonorities and by the color of the instruments.
Okay. Now, the color is one thing I do love, because it's a little bit like Irish flute as well. I find that there is a purity to the sound, which I really, really like. The one thing I would say is I don't think I've even tried a Baroque flute at any point. The thing that
you're very welcome to try.
We'll do that off camera.
No, we should do it in the podcast. Literally,
this is the last thing my listeners need. It's me hacking my way through your beautiful instrument. But it looks like so much work. It looks so difficult. The intonation. That is one thing that drives.
Baroque flute is not as difficult as I think. I don't want to no. Of course, it is quite challenging, but I think for me the most difficult thing is the keyed flute, because literally this flute, I think it died out because it had too many possibilities and it was too difficult to play it. Because if you open the oldflutes.com, I highly recommend this website. Yeah, it's
is that a thing? Okay.
It's a wonderful website with all possible fingerings for all possible models, historical and
who's doing that, or who started it?
It's an American website, and it exists for already at least 15 years or even more. And I know it since quite a while. And they collected all fingerings for this keyed flute, for the historical flute. And I was just recently learning something, and I was wow, man, for the C in the third octave, they have 8 possibilities. And basically for almost every combination on the keyed flute, you have 5 to 6 on average possibilities how to play that note.
That's so ridiculous.
And in the same bar you play C in 3 different ways depending on the tonality and on the combination that came before, like you would use the long F or the C key, or you would use a Baroque C, or you would use another, like, I don't know, like
Is
this
this because
Mendelssohn
it's like
sonata.
also like, for example, like the notes place in the chord? So if it's like a major third or something, you use one finger.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And if you would like to play pianissimo, piano, or forte, that depends. Because like if you use, so basically it's about the length of the air stream.
Okay.
Do you say that?
Yeah.
So basically, if you like, if you would like to play a B natural, you play like this, and it's a very short air stream. How would you call it? Like an
air column or air stream. Yeah, I
column.
think it's
Yeah,
both,
exactly. So it's very short, and then therefore, for instance, on the Baroque flute, it sounds a bit lower. Actually, like you need to correct. No, I cannot. Maybe, but and you would need to correct that in a way. I mean, yeah, you would need some context, but like in G major or like in E minor, you would use different colors for that. But for instance, like on the keyed flute, you could also play it with different possibilities, or like, let's say C. And if you have like, for instance, C in the third octave, so that's already like if you cover the holes with your right hand, that means that the air column becomes longer.
Yeah.
And that's the most refined fingerings that one can use to play pianissimo or...
See, I love the fact that you guys are thinking about tonalities as well, because I feel like it's one thing that even I see with my own students, like the amount of times I've had to learn how to explain this in German and in French over the years, of explaining why like a G sharp and an A flat are not the same note. And people are so clueless about it. And I've had arguments with people online on that fucking Facebook group as well about saying they're not the same thing. And there's obviously a relation with the tone and the interval and then the different temperaments within that. But we learn nothing about it. Even at music college, I feel like a lot of the time you don't learn about this. But you guys in historical performance, you're so well educated on that. I'm thinking, is it because you have to be? Because of the fingering?
Because the instrument guides you through that world, let's say. Because like it would not work if you would just use the same way of thinking. That, for instance, G sharp and A flat is the same note. That would not. But I think with modern flute, I mean, but it would just be very
out of tune.
Yeah, out of tune and sounding very wrong with a harpsichord, for instance.
Okay.
Or, I don't know, in an orchestra.
Yeah.
Depending, of course, like you have to orientate yourself on
context,
the spot. Yeah. But also, I think that playing modern flute, like you should still think about this kind of things anyways.
Of course you should.
Yeah. I think in the orchestra, like, or, I don't know, with the piano, I think as well. I mean,
well, I think to a certain extent you can definitely do it with piano
but you adjust by ear, I guess.
Yeah.
With the embouchure.
It is one of the most, like, I think I did an episode on this a long time ago where I really deep dived into like the whole Pythagoras thing and where these like the relations and the ratios between the notes. I mean, it's one of those things that I will research for hours and I understand it, but if you're trying to make me explain it, I'm like, I haven't got a fucking clue. But it is so interesting. I love that kind of stuff. I love getting into the real, like how each tone, each tonality has its own little flavour and colour and in certain contexts. And that's why I think orchestral music, like I'm saying, I always say like one of the things you notice about like a really good orchestra, you'll always feel like that just that pop of colour or that pop of sound, and that comes from like using proper intonation on their chords, like making sure that they're not tuned to a piano, they're not tuned to even temperament, but they're using proper temperament where the major third, the third is placed well. It's beautiful, and I think when you start to study that kind of stuff, it is great. It is so interesting.
But I think also with pianos, you can tune them in a different way. You can tune them more like bright and warm in the high register and in the low register in terms of like make the color more fluffy if you need. Like you can. I mean, Chopin,
I believe you can. I've never done it, but I believe you.
Like piano of Chopin, it was not tuned in like equal temperament.
Okay.
Definitely not. It was like slightly unequal because it brings the colors like equal temperament, or like what is the most perfect pitched instrument, synthesizer, but it's like a sinus. It doesn't have overtones. I think overtones, that what brings the color to every note, let's say.
Yeah, and it makes it interesting as well. Like gives it the beauty of the color. I could go on a lot about this, but I have so many different things I want to talk to you about as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the very first question I've written
The very
out
first question.
was, I know, well,
Oh, no.
we've got through it, but I did say, sell me on Baroque flute. You've sold me already, so I'm very happy about that. Now, also, I should say, you're a podcaster. People should know this as well. They probably will know this. So it's great talking to another podcaster because I know you can talk,
Thank you so
which
much.
is great. Now, you've took a break from podcasting. What's the latest for your podcast?
The name of my podcast is Insight Reading Enlightenment, and we have started that with my ensemble partner, Sebastian Mitra, that already, you have seen him already today. He played in the concert. He's the keyboard player.
I didn't get a program, so I don't know who's who. Okay, thank you.
So we have started it during Corona, and so it was some kind of an escape. We would sight read, and then we would talk about this kind
Yes, I remember the early
of
episodes.
things. Yeah. And then somehow, like, I don't know, so our ways separated, and I have continued with the podcast, and I have done some episodes for various different organizations and festivals and networks, and but now I think if you can say so, I don't know, maybe it's like a general vibe, but somehow I got this burnout, but I don't know why exactly. So I'm trying to figure that out, because, okay, let's talk about Switzerland and the system in Switzerland.
Please do.
Because it's really tricky to find a way to stay in Switzerland after you have done your studies, like after you have finished your studies.
Okay. Are you talking from a visa perspective as well, or?
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. And like for almost 10 years, I've been studying, and I was so stressed with my visa and how to go on and what else should I study. So I was like an eternal student, and I'm not that young anymore. So, and I was really exhausted from that. And when my question was resolved, and I have realized I can stay in Switzerland, it's no problem, I don't have this pressure anymore.
Okay, great.
Somehow, I don't know, I fell apart inside. Like, the resistance kind of kicked in, and I was like, okay. So, I was so stressed for so many years, and then now I'm just like trying to, I don't know, to collect myself, because somehow I fell apart a little bit inside, and I try to figure out how to go on as the real member of this society,
Is this purely in regard to podcasting, or in general as an artist?
In general, I think in general, but also now I do more projects, as a musician, as a freelance musician, and I have a stable job, or several stable jobs, let's say so.
As stable as I can get,
Yes, and with the podcast, I was thinking, I love talking to people, and I love listening to their answers, actually. I'm really curious. But as you probably know, the whole editing part is really, like, you have to invest so much time. And even now, I'm sure, like, you're sitting and you're listening to me and like, she said that word, so maybe I have to cut it out. And, it's like a professional deformation. And,
I'm definitely doing that.
Oh God, and like interviewing, for instance, I don't want to be like an asshole, but like interviewing some French people, it can be a nightmare, because you have to cut out like every third word, literally. Man, I think that's a part of my burnout.
Do you know I think I used Riverside for an online interview recently. I'm not going to say who it is. It's like an online podcasting thing where you can podcast with someone digitally, but then it cuts out the delay. So it records it in very high quality.
Okay. Wow.
It's really good software, but it has a feature where it can take out like filler words or noises, and it does it all through AI.
That feature?
I listened to it and I was like, no, why are we talking so fast? It was bizarre. It was really weird, and I was like, no. I love speaking to French people for that reason. I love French people. I'm like,
but do
it's like music to my ears.
But how do you?
I keep it in.
Okay, but it's impossible to listen to.
I love listening to it. For me, it's like ASMR. A French accent in this podcast.
No, but it's just too.
Talk to me more.
No, not about the accent.
But the noises and everything. Love it.
But
I
no,
love
but
it.
it's really difficult to grasp what they mean, or like what is the thought behind this
I think
action.
that's just them being French. Sorry, French people. I know I love them. I do love French people.
Getting into trouble.
No, I see. Well, I think I have a slightly different attitude towards podcasting. The podcasts I really enjoy listening to do just feel like a conversation. So I'm very happy to dive into that. And the thing I wanted to do with this podcast was to bring that different side of musicians, of just being like, right, my whole vibe was I wanted to feel like you're in a pub. And I caught someone in a pub and we're having a beer together and you just get to watch it.
But then that should be much louder.
It should be much louder, yeah. I really hope it picks up the beautiful music in the background here as well.
Yes, we are like literally
concert.
at the backstage of a concert, and we were already like hushed because we were too loud.
I know, yeah, we told off. Might have to take that out, yeah. So actually, I want to talk about burnout because it's a topic that's been on my mind a lot recently, and you just mentioned it there, and I'm so curious about it because I think, okay, well, the day we're recording this is 21st of May, but tomorrow's episode, I'm talking from the past here, but tomorrow's episode in our time is with a therapist that I got on who specializes treating with classical musicians. And she talked a lot about burnout, and it's something that's been on my mind so much because I think so many classical musicians that I know have went through it without realizing they've went through it. And I think actually I'd say 90% of the classical musicians I know have went through burnout, like severe burnout, and have just pushed right through it. Do you think you've had actual burnout then? And what was your experience with it? If you're okay talking about it.
Yes, of course. No, it's a really good question. I think it's hard to. First of all, I think for every musician, it's hard to face it because we are so much trained to be like efficient, to be to be positive, to be to deliver great quality, like that everything should be perfect. We should be like artistic on stage, we should be convincing, we should be very positive, we should communicate with people in a good way in order to get further gigs and networking and this kind of things.
But there's a pressure to that as well, because that means every single time you're performing you're like, well, my whole career depends on me doing this well and also interacting with people well, because otherwise I'm not going to get any more work. I'm going to starve and I'm going to die.
Sometimes it's even more important to communicate with people in a good way, like in order to be invited. I think,
would say it's maybe even more important,
of course,
to be honest.
Yeah, because if you are great, but you behave then a bit in a weird way, like nobody is going to deal with you. Like, I mean, unfortunately, it's like that. Yeah. It's nowadays, I think it's not enough anymore to be just a good musician, I think.
No, I agree.
Yes. Or to master your instrument and to play very fast.
You think about it like any other kind of job. If people are booking you for a concert, it's not just the concert they're booking for the rehearsal beforehand, dealing with you backstage, going for drinks, going for dinner, doing all that. They want to book someone who's fun. They want to book someone who they enjoy their company with as well. And if you're really difficult, you have to be really, really good to get away with being an asshole about things.
Yes.
You really do. And I think most of us are not good enough to get away with that.
But that's a bit like this old-fashioned perspective, right? Like almost from the 19th century, where you could have been a weirdo, but a genius, and then everybody would go crazy about you and like you would be like accepted and invited. And now I think it's not, like, it's over. It's not enough.
You think so? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, no? I mean, that romanticized artist thing, it drives me insane. I mean, it's one thing I complain about a lot in the industry. So I don't want to get into too many tangents here. So we talk about burnout. Do you know what I think is one of the big issues as well? Which I want to make the conscious effort to talk to more musicians about this, is I think a lot of musicians will have went through a period where they considered quitting the instrument and have maybe like researched other jobs. And there's a shame to it. And I think it's because what we do is so closely tied to our identity of who we are, right? That you go, well, if I don't play the flute anymore, who am I? I've done this for like
give up. Yeah.
Giving
totally,
up.
Yeah.
What are you giving up? Like by choosing a better career, choosing a different life for yourself, that's like giving
better
up.
Money.
Yeah,
probably.
There's so many, but like I feel so sorry for people who go through that and delay it for so long because like, oh, the shame of quitting music because people are going to talk about me, they weren't good enough. But I think everyone's considered it at some point.
I think it's a strong decision to change your profession.
Yeah.
I've done an interview with a great singer. She's a great singer. And she decided to be a tram driver in Basel. So she changed. Like, she was like, okay, I've had enough. Like, it's better if I work somewhere else. And she's really happy. Well. Yeah. She's really happy and it's well paid and yeah.
See,
it's great.
just when you're saying that as well, you just unlocked a memory. I don't know if you know Sophia Neugebauer.
Yes, of course. She also studied in Basel, actually. Yeah.
I interviewed her in the podcast, and she said her dream job, if she wasn't a flute player, would be to be a tram driver in Basel.
I think that takes the source from that story with the
Do you
singer.
reckon? Yeah.
Yeah, because it was quite a resonant story. Like,
Oh, was it like
yeah.
a thing that
Yeah.
was it publicized and stuff? Like it was in the news?
It was on news, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I've done this interview, and yeah, you can go and listen.
Yeah, people will. Don't worry. Yeah. Did you ever have a period where you considered quitting music?
No, I don't know what to do then. Like, honestly, I feel even if I start thinking about that, I'm already tired. Like, I don't know what I could have potentially done instead of being a musician. Like, I have no idea.
Okay.
Like, I cannot do anything else in my life.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I can teach, I can be nice to people, and
You could be a tram driver.
no, maybe not. I don't know. No. But somehow, do you experience that sometimes when you are so focused on one thing that somehow you become a bit like short-sighted in a way that you don't really see the entire perspective or another perspective? Does it happen to you? Like,
Do you know, like, I'm kind of jealous that you do. I don't think I ever had that with music. I don't think I've ever had that with anything with my career. I've never taken a career so seriously that's... I'm jealous. It's such a romantic idea to be like, oh, my whole life's devoted to music.
no.
I always loved music, but like,
yeah.
I always felt like if it didn't make me happy, I'd be very happy to do something else.
But coming from a post-Soviet space, I think like for every child who studied music in a serious way, it is like, as you say, it is a romantic idea, and it's kind of, it sounds very nice and whatever, very dedicated.
Artistic, yeah.
Yes, but no, I think it's not so healthy.
Do you think it
in a
comes
way.
from something to do with the post-Soviet structure?
Yes, the education system is not... Again, I don't want to like offend anybody. Maybe some people find it great.
Be very careful as well. The last thing I need is the Russian government after me. I've got enough problems here.
No, I think I already, maybe I could have some problems because like, that's why I don't really go to Russia since the war started, because like I've done some interviews with Ukrainian musicians.
I know, I listened to that episode. That was a fantastic episode.
Thank you so much.
That was one of my favorite
It was like really
episodes, actually.
devastating actually.
That was hard to listen to. I could feel like you were very affected by it as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It must have been sorry, so I should give context to that. It's an episode, I think it's quite a few years ago you made that episode, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just when the war started, I thought I need to do something about that. And yeah, I was just thinking that people should not forget, because like we tend to squeeze it out of our memory when like, okay, we are shocked by the event, but in some time we're like, getting used to it,
course,
you know,
yeah.
and because it's impossible to always be so wounded and to be just like bleeding all the time, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was thinking it's important to do something that people just they remember and they can come back to this experience. And for me, it was also important that I collect these impressions from the musicians that had to like bring their parents from Ukraine, or they had to flee the war, like, and they were in trains for like I don't know how many hours, or in buses, like standing. It's horrible. It is a horrible experience. But it was for me, it was really important to collect those impressions and those heavy experiences. Yeah, just to also to let other people know how it feels from inside when you are in this situation, because we tend to say like, it's happening, like it's not happening with me.
It'll never happen to me,
yeah, exactly, and I will be fine. Like it can happen to anybody.
It really can.
Yeah.
So yeah, people should check that episode out actually. So you'll find it if you flick back through Darina's podcast, you'll find it back there. Again, it's a couple of years ago, but it was so I think it was all students from in Basel, wasn't it?
Right.
Obviously chatting by people who fled from the Ukrainian war and stuff like that. And the thing that struck me so quickly about it was, and something I've talked about in this podcast in general, is I think being a Russian person at the minute in classical music is such an identity crisis, because for so long we have placed Russia on this pedestal, you know, having great musicians, great composers. The Moscow Conservatory is renowned around the world for the quality musician it produces. And then suddenly you've got this identity crisis of being a Russian in the modern world and in the classical music world. How have you found that?
I think it's very good what you're saying now. Like, I think it's actually a chance to decolonize, in a way, Russia and the empire in Russia. And I think that's a very important thought, because this kind of like Russian culture and, as you say, this attitude that was like used to circulate before in Europe or everywhere else. Let's say maybe it's a good question to actually ask what it is and why, like, thanks to what it exists, or it was existing, or it existed, because maybe it would lead us to the idea of imperialism and the demands of empire, and what it does to people, and what it does to culture, and how it transforms culture, how it transforms artists, what it does with like cultural heritage and cultural environment. So I think it's a good question.
It's a topic that I think so much about, because my girlfriend's from Georgia, and I've been visiting Tbilisi now and gotten to see that. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but I find it a very strange thing that's happening in, just a quick note in the USSR, but in Germany, especially in like Cologne or Berlin or the more liberal cities, we're seeing a bit of a romanticization towards communism, which I totally get, because people, it's a response to capitalism to say, right, well, obviously if capitalism is shit, we'll turn to communism. I totally get the idea behind it, but it's so interesting watching her respond to this, or her family, and being like, well, you know, the fault, like, it's maybe not great to romanticize the USSR in the way that we do, because we've seen what happened with culture and identity, and what happened to so many people after the fall of the USSR. And it makes me think so much of classical music again, because when we talk about the Russian like influence on classical music, we are talking about things that happened 150 years ago, 100 years ago. And I think, what is a modern Russian's identity in the classical music world? Because it's not that anymore. It's not Tchaikovsky. It's not Rachmaninoff. It's not all these.
It is still, in a way, it is. I mean, that's what sells, kind of. I mean,
is that what it is? It's selling.
It is. Yeah. It serves the purposes of capitalistic society, because, like, if you play, I mean, now I don't know how it is nowadays, but still, I mean, people play Tchaikovsky, or like Shostakovich, maybe not so much, but like maybe 10 years ago, it was a top composer to be performed, or Rachmaninoff. And
how do you feel personally playing that kind of music? Do you have an attachment to it, an emotional attachment to Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky?
I mean, you know, I see it like from behind the scenes, let's say, and I know that this music was influenced by European music, by Wagner, by Liszt, by this huge European composers that actually influenced. That Tchaikovsky, he was a fan of Wagner. They all, of course, they try to kind of embrace the identity. But for instance, let's say in Yevgeny Onegin, in the whole opera, like, although he tries to recreate folk songs, there is no single quote from actual folk music. So he tries to, I don't know if he tries to avoid that on purpose or not, but it is like, in a way, it's artificially created folk surrounding, let's say.
Interesting.
So it's kind of a task with a twist, in a way, when you ask me to analyze that, because I know, like, the roots of that, they are coming really from European music. They all went to Italy, to like Glinka, for instance, to study, and they took it as an example. Like, European music was an example to compose, like, to create actually this, in a way, empire cultural image, maybe. I don't know, like, to which amount it was the demand of the society back then, but I guess to a certain amount, yes, because it was like so much like Europe oriented at the time. I mean, with fashion, language, everybody spoke like French and all the other languages, so it was really tightly connected with Europe. So I
mean, it's something I wanted to talk about in general. I've never actually had a Russian musician on this podcast, I'm thinking. I did reach out to a couple of people in Russia, but there was a lot of hesitancy to come on this podcast, which I can understand. I think especially musicians that play. So I think I'm right in saying a lot of the orchestras are still state controlled or state funded. So they have to be very careful about what they say on podcasts. And I think, considering the history of this podcast, it might not be the best one to come on. But I would love to know what's going on over there. I would love to get opinions from people in there, because
Yes.
it almost feels like that Iron Curtain's back. Like we all
Right. I'm so
fetishize
scared. Yeah,
Russian
yeah,
music,
yeah, yeah.
and the Moscow Conservatory. Like I've heard people talk about this, saying like, "Oh, in Moscow, you would have had like your fingers hitting for playing that wrong note." Are you? And like, how do you know this? We're all just like making up stories, but we don't know if this is actually true or not. We've just got this whole like story. Russia's been like this character in classical music almost
Right.
that we've built up so much in our heads. But like, is it really like that? Like, what was your experience like in Moscow as a student?
I mean, again, we are coming back to the education system, which I'm not a fan of. Again, I don't want to offend anybody, but like for me personally, it's rough. It's too like I don't work under the circumstances.
In what sense? Like rough in what sense? Like pressure or high demands?
Pressure, maybe. I don't know. It's like toxic in a way that maybe I was just not lucky.
Yeah.
You know, because it depends what kind of like teacher you meet on your way and people that educate you. I don't know. For me, it was rather, let's say, like traumatizing and depressive experience. So I was like very much surprised when I went to Europe and yeah. I started having my experiences here, so it was very different. That people actually they somehow respect you. I don't know, like it's hard for me to also explain it and to describe it because again, I don't want to offend anybody. But maybe it's just my subjective.
But you can always tell your subjective story. Like that's
yes.
fine.
Yes. So for me, it was like too rough, and so it's very hierarchy in a way that like. There's your professor. I mean, I think to a certain amount, it's everywhere like that.
I was about to say, yeah.
Like you have your professor and you are, or like a conductor, and you're basically like a slave in this surrounding. And you have to serve and you have to deliver. And to a certain amount, it dehumanizes you. But also like if you allow yourself or the others to dehumanize you or to be dehumanized through the system, then it means that you are like professionally unusable in the system. So I don't know, it's quite tricky to explain. And you should stay strong. You should not have any crisis or whatever, and just go through and be always perfect and deliver the quality on a very high level. And
I mean, that's a stereotype we have about Russian culture, I think, in general. Like, even when you read Russian literature and stuff, you can feel that when you read Dostoevsky or Tolstoy. You can feel this, like, heaviness with it. But it's beautiful in a way as well.
Dark.
It's such a difficult topic. It's such a thing. It's something I've thought about so much in the context of classical music, and I wish I could get an answer to it, because I think it's something you've talked about in your podcast, well, many times in your podcast, of, like, the role of classical music in the modern world and the social awareness that we have to have, but also accepting the fact that we're playing music of colonial past or racist past or all kinds of weird undertones. Like, and this music, it's trying to figure out, where does this music have its place in a liberal modern 2026? Because I can see why modern musicians love it. Like, I see why modern people love it if they're part of the bourgeoisie, or they've got loads of money and they're doing it for image. But where does a genuine young artist who's got liberal views, how does classical music fit into their life? And it's something I really argue with myself all the time. Like, even a couple of weeks, I was doing a Mahler 1 concert and I invited some friends to come to it. And one of my friends is very into like punk rock music and that kind of stuff. And he's like, cool. I'm not going to the classical music. I can't go to a classical music concert. It supports all the things I stand against. And I'm like, it does, but the music's great. And how do you marry those two things together? It's something I struggle with a lot, and I don't know what your thoughts on it are.
I don't know. I wanted to ask you, do you listen to like classical music, to CDs, or like, I don't know, do you like recordings?
Not as much as I used to. I love classical music.
Okay.
I love everything about it. No, I only love the music. Everything else about the industry, I fucking hate. Like, I really hate it. Like, it's the amount of damage it's done to me and other people around me. Like, being in this industry is obscene. Because sometimes there was times where I just feel like grabbing everybody and going, you play an instrument for a living. It could be a lot worse. You're all so privileged. Why is all taking this so seriously? Yes. I know it's beautiful music and I know it's transformative, but at the end of the day, you're just playing an instrument. It doesn't have to be as deep and difficult as that. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, it's a lot of like, there are fears also involved into that pleasure, that sometimes they can even like overtake this pleasure because you're criticized constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what I mean under this like education system, that the pressure is so high somehow that at some point you just break inside, and people who break inside, they cannot go on, or they are thrown out from like, yeah, they are not needed in the system anymore.
Yeah, but
and
it's so
I think
closely
that's really
tied to
inhuman. Yeah,
it is. It's so inhuman to say to someone, well, you can't play the piano as well as we've demanded it, so fuck you. You're out in your arse now. That's it. You've lost your value as a human because you can't play the piano well.
But also like to humiliate your pupils or your students, and then to expect that they will stay sane and productive and deliver. And so it's like, I don't know, for me the dynamic is not ideal.
This is something I've talked about again, because I wish there was in some ways, like the one-to-one lesson system, for example. I love the fact that we have it in classical music for so many ways, because you get to spend time with this person who you admire, and you really get a viewpoint into how they're thinking. It's so unique, and it's such a great way to study. But at the same time, it does encourage this hero worship that we get in classical music. And at the same, like, they're just people. We shouldn't be putting them on these pedestals. So I don't know the solution yet to working between that. And it's something I thought about a lot. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on like the one-to-one teaching system. Have you ever thought?
Yes, I like once I have heard from a Swiss person that it's like a nightmare, this one-to-one system.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like not ideal, and yeah, like.
Okay, what was the defense, or what was the argument against it?
No, they didn't explain why exactly, but like, yeah, it's like a horror dream in a way that you stay in the same room with your teacher and you're alone, and like what happens there, like, I don't know how it affects your child. I mean, in a way, like your child could be like traumatized, and like you don't even know.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Because of this respect for, at the end of the day, someone who plays an instrument well, that's the only criteria that you've got for sending your child to this person, is their instrumental skills are good. That's no reflection on their personality or their character. That's just, oh, they can play the flute well, they can play the piano well, so I'm going to trust you with my child.
Yes.
That's insane. That's a legitimately insane idea to think that.
Yes.
And yeah, it's all these things. It's why I really enjoy your podcast, because you talked about, like, I listened to the episode last year, actually with the director of this festival, about decolonisation in classical music and all these ideas. And I think this is the kind of thing that's going to bring classical music into the modern world, because I feel like sometimes it doesn't fit the modern world. It still feels like a museum piece.
I was thinking about that actually, because again, it's like imperial vibe a little bit for me, that I don't want to insult lovers of classical music. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. We definitely don't want to do that here. Yeah, we're gonna have no money if we do that.
Yeah, a professional musician. Hello. Yeah, but I think it is a system that is reproducing itself, and it's fitting itself through this reproduction in a way. It is a system, and that's why I think it's quite tricky to, although it's great, all this effort that people try to decolonize music, or to think about it, to be more inclusive and be more aware. It's really great. That's what we all should do on a daily basis.
I totally agree, yeah.
But on the other hand, classical music, it's something that was like created in an artificial way, let's say. I mean, it's a very exclusive art. That's why I think it has a certain difficulty with dealing with nowadays realities, let's say. What do you think about it?
I think the biggest issue for me still with classical music is, it's so great to see people working in diversifying classical music, making sure that we're getting rid of the racist colonial past, we're being more inclusive of, certainly, obviously, women composers and women performers, and the LGBTQ community, blah, blah, blah. It's all great, but the one big one for me is still the classism within classical music. It's the one I can't get my head around. It's the one I haven't found a solution for, of how we make classical music something for people regardless of their social class. It's the biggest issue for me, and it breaks my heart, that, because I still think it is, unfortunately, a rich person's game.
Yes,
I really
absolutely.
like it's not even the amount of money the instruments cost and stuff. It still is the whole institutions around it are so built towards money.
Yes,
and they're so built towards this idea of we are slightly above everyone else, and it drives me insane, because the music is so good, and I feel like the music has, everyone can love well, maybe not Mahler, Beethoven. Everyone can love Beethoven. I hate Mahler, actually. I can't even stand Mahler.
Yes.
But Beethoven or Mozart, this is not, the music itself is for everybody.
Yes.
But it's not accessible to everybody. And that's the one that I find so difficult to do because I care so much about social injustice, yet I work as a classical musician, which feels like, I always feel like I'm being a hypocrite when I do that. And I haven't worked it out yet. I hope one day I do, but at the minute, I haven't found a solution to it.
Me too. Yes. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. No, it's there are lots of initiatives like Zamus. They are also dedicated to create various spaces accessible for young musicians, for amateur musicians. They do some projects for people with disabilities and different types of audiences. But I don't know how to like make it work for everybody, like in every country. I don't know.
I know. Well, we haven't come to a solution on that one. I was hoping we'd work that one out, but we haven't got there. Yes. But it's fine. We've been talking for nearly an hour. I can't actually believe we've been talking for an hour already. Nearly,
now it's the second question. For the second question.
I know, for fuck's sake. I have like 10 questions here. And do you know which one I've put in capital letters, which I really wanted to talk about, was wine.
What?
Wine.
Yes. Why white wine?
Did you not have a wine podcast for a while as well? Do you still run that?
We are still we have some material recorded. It's with my partner, with Uli.
Okay.
And he's a great expert in white wines. And
only white wine?
Yes. That's why it's called white wine. And
okay. But do you drink other wines?
No.
You only drink white wine?
Literally, yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm feeling sometimes like tired from like after I have drunk red wine, I feel like completely smashed and I'm like a bit tired.
Yeah, that's why I drink it. It's great.
Right. No, but with white wine, you are like staying sane in a way, like you stay fresh.
Okay. And then can I ask you, wine, let's talk about it quickly because we haven't got much time here, but I don't get to talk to a wine expert very often.
I'm not an expert, by the way, but I'm just an amateur.
I'm going to edit that out. I'm going to edit out just I am an expert.
But there are great wines here in Cologne.
Okay, that was going to be my first question. German wine, tell me.
So Weißburgunder here in Cologne and Grauburgunder, that are my favorite here. I'm not such a fan of Riesling. I think it's really...
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. No? I can't, the Riesling thing, I'm done with Riesling.
It can be great.
It can be.
It can be great, but you really need to find a good one with like certain minerality and that it's like dry enough.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite is Grauburgunder, Weißburgunder. I don't know. You can go to our Instagram account and there I post... wine producers and the bottles and they are all not insanely expensive. They are really from local producers. We always meet those producers and we interview them and we get to know them in person and we order wines from them. So you can find really under 15 euros, something like that. You can find excellent wine from small producers, female producers. It's really we try to make it accessible for people.
You really are doing it?
Because it is a bit like classical music. People enjoy having a very expensive bottle of wine and they don't care if it's good or not.
Yeah.
It can be really bad wine for 100 euros.
The similarities between classical music and wine are there's a lot of them as well.
Yes.
But again, with both of them, I agree. Everybody should be able to enjoy it because they're both great.
Yes.
Also on wine then. Have you had Georgian wine yet?
In my previous life, of course. Okay. Yes, of course. But here, I don't know. I would love to find some producers, smaller producers, where I could I could order from them actually, because I really enjoy we enjoy ordering directly from the wine producers from Austria, from Italy, from Piemonte, northern Italy, wonderful wine, from Germany, from where else? Switzerland, not so much. Excuse me, not so much.
I can edit that out.
But yes.
No, don't edit it out. Keep it in.
But I would, if you have
your visa's going
wine producers that you would like to recommend, or from
your when it comes to Georgian wine, the problem is I went there for 10 days and I drank wine every day, and it was amazing. But I can't remember anything about it because I drank too much wine. But I do know my girlfriend's dad makes amazing wine. He's a winemaker. I forgot the name of his company. But it's incredible. I've got like 20 bottles of it in my fridge over there.
Right.
I
would
had
love
to
to
book.
try.
I swear to God, I booked an extra suitcase from Tbilisi just to bring wine back.
Yes,
a
yes.
full suitcase of wine.
Yes,
One of
absolutely.
the best days of my life.
Oh, next time we drink it together.
Yes, I know. I should have brought a bottle. I forgot about
Yes.
that. Yeah, I wanted to ask about wine. I was going to ask about red wine as well, but you
But you
obviously
know, they start producing wine now in in Norway. They do produce wine because
in
like
Norway.
yes, of course, because
got
of the
grapes
climate
in Norway?
change. Yes, and next time I'm going to be in Norway because I work there in an orchestra. So we have already set kind of a not a date, but like we set. Let's say we agreed to meet and drink wines, and I bring some of my wines, and
That's a
the
party.
person from Norway, he was like, yeah, I will bring some.
Norwegian wine.
Yeah. And in England, in Scotland.
Oh, we don't talk about English wine. Don't give people ideas.
No. But it's really because of the climate change. It's in the meantime, it's really like there are some great producers.
I know, but don't give the English ideas. It's the last thing we need in this podcast.
Oh.
And definitely don't. Have you ever had Irish wine? Is that a thing? Is there wine in Ireland?
No, actually, no.
I wouldn't drink it if I were you.
We try to be sustainable. That's why we have wines like from local small producers.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so much fun getting to know it as well. I love wine tastings as well. I love all that stuff, man. I think it's such an art and it's so enjoyable.
Yes,
I might not know much about it, but I really enjoy.
But do you enjoy
learning.
like red wine mostly, or like what is
Genuinely
your
all of them.
preference?
Genuinely
Okay.
like red and white and rosé and orange wine. Got very into. Big man
I
for the
can
orange wine.
recommend the only like my favorite, actually the wonderful one that maybe I advertise the only one. It's Gavi. It's called shit. Go to my Instagram account and Fontana. No. La
Digitally
Caplana,
insert
sorry, La Caplana. It's called the
Okay.
producer. It's a very small producer, wonderful person. Like I know him in person.
Where are they based?
It's Gavi. It's called the region is called Gavi, and it's an orange wine from Gavi, and it's called Gavi La Caplana.
What country is Gavi in?
It's Italy.
Italy,
It's from
okay.
Italy. It's from the north, like Piemonte, around Piemonte.
Okay, yeah,
It's
okay.
Beautiful orange wine that I can really, because with orange wines, it's a little bit like I have a little prejudice. It's a little bit like with Riesling. It's like very hyped and it's like orange wine. Everybody's
very
drinking
hipster, yeah.
orange wines.
Everyone's
blah,
on the
blah.
orange wine,
It's
yeah.
so like so fashionable now, but it's really hard to get a good one. Like to find a good one that is
Yeah.
embracing your
Well, there's your tip.
everything inside.
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia also has great orange wine, but I don't want to big up Georgia too much. Okay, right. Before we go, I do have a series of fun questions that I like to because
Okay.
we
fun.
talked about very heavy topics today, so I think we should end with some fun topics.
Yeah.
They're quick fire. Sorry, I'm holding my nose because I feel like I'm going to sneeze. My hay
Please,
fever is
go
back.
for it. Go for it.
No, I just want to. No, I don't want to do that to the listeners because I won't edit it out. I don't have an editing team, so if I sneeze, it's going in the podcast.
But what do you do if you want to sneeze? Do you like
I do what
inhale or
I've been doing what I've been doing for the last 45 minutes, Darina. It's not like that.
or you can do like this? You can rub your nose, you know.
Oh, yeah?
But like I mean, with glasses, maybe it's not. Nah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please, I don't know if I
not
believe you or not. Right, quick question. So you have the answer super quick. People panic when I tell them you have the answer them quick, okay? But it's just like,
Okay, I'm
yeah.
panicking.
Don't panic. Do you have a favorite flute concerto?
Yes, maybe this Benda E minor concerto is
Oh,
quite nice.
that's a good one. That's a
It's
classic
like
as well.
Drama queen concerto. kind
Great
of, yeah,
answer.
it's-
Nobody's ever said that, I don't think. I don't think anyone's ever said that. Thank you for giving an answer, by the way. The amount of people who go like,
My pleasure.
oh, I don't know, I like this. I just pick one. So thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. There's me insulting all my other guests in one moment.
Sorry.
Do you remember the first album that you bought? Like the first flute album that you bought?
Definitely. Okay, so my favorite album of like I don't know. Again, I'm sorry. Like I'm apologizing
Oh, no,
so
please
much in
offend
this
everybody.
podcast, but whatever. So that's the Wilhelm Friedemann Bach, played by Barthold Köken and my teacher Mark Antai. I like it's this sonatas for two flutes. And it was like a magic experience. That's why I actually wanted to start playing like Traverso. That's why it did something with my brain because like you don't even know who plays what. Sometimes you don't even realize there are two flutes playing at the same time. It's like a whole cosmic experience. It's like, yes.
See, I don't know this
Highly
album. I'm going to have to
recommend.
check this out then.
Yes,
Okay, that's a great
wonderful.
tip. Do you remember your first album in general? It doesn't have to be a flute album. Was it the same album or do you remember buying?
Mozart Requiem with Karajan. It was so many years ago. I was like 15 and I was listening it on repeat and
That's a
I
very
don't know
15-year-old album as well. Like
how
the Mozart
many
Requiem is
times.
perfect for a 15-year-old.
But I still remember there was like one movement. I don't remember which one exactly now, but there was like two clarinets. I think they played so out of tune, and it was in this CD, and like somehow it was such a great experience. I don't know, like it's not perfect, but it's wonderful.
But that's why it's perfect. That's why it's perfect. It's not perfect. I stand by that. There's a couple of albums I've got. My favorite ones, like I love my big ones as a teenager was the Carrie Beethoven cycle he did with the Berlin Phil. I think it was the second time he did it. And there is some like wildly out of tune notes in it. I think I had one recording as well where at the start of Beethoven 9, the first flute had played the first note, the D, I think it's D-da. He played it up the octave. So he played like the super high D. Okay. I was like, man, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that.
He just like went crazy.
But obviously Carrie-Anne said, enjoy yourself. Do you have a karaoke song?
No, I've never done karaoke. Actually, like we should go to karaoke like right now.
We go right. Yeah, stop the podcast. cut the hair.
I don't know, but like I would love to. It's like a song in Russian that is called "Не любовь," and it's like not love. Literally, it's such an iconic song from beginning of the 2000s. It's like I don't know. I did not really estimate it so much, but now it had a second kind of flourishing moment, and it's really a great one. Actually,
that's definitely the first time I've got that answer. I've been talking a lot. I don't know much Russian pop music, but I've been talking about Tattoo a lot recently.
Tattoo, yeah,
they're great.
They were singing quite out of tune, actually. Like,
it doesn't matter. They were great.
No, they were great. But but I have like also a mixed feeling because of the entire experience of the girls actually, and how toxic it was for them at the moment.
Because I did this in the Eurovision episode because Tattoo represented Russia in Eurovision afterwards, and then they were like, "Oh no, we're not gay," and you're like, "Well."
No, but also that they were forced to like represent this.
I know
image.
The half that. Sorry, go check the other episode out on that because I talked about that at length. It's fascinating as well. But just when you say Russian pop artist, I think that's the only one I know.
Yeah,
but it's a good one. Okay, if you could play any other instrument apart from the flute, but be as good as you are in the flute, what would you play? Skills directly transferable.
Like a bassoon. Baroque bassoon, yes.
That is what I can safely say. In 151 episodes, no one has said Baroque bassoon. That is the first one. You can be the one Baroque bassoon.
No, I would love to play like a bass, like a proper bass instrument.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could play like with Renaissance flutes. Like I have a consort, and you can play actually a bass flute, and we have like a wonderful bass flute player, Tommaso. Hello. And he's like wonderful. But the bass flute, the thing is, it's so like it's painful. In 5 minutes, your neck is dead.
Yeah,
because the holes they are so
and
far apart.
And you have to blow a lot to get like I know contemporary.
But it's
bass
really you have to stand like this, and like your neck is dead. I don't know like how he does that. I admire him so much.
I have to go to the gym for that.
With bassoon, that should be quite chilled. Actually,
I actually love the bassoon. I adore the bassoon. The Baroque bassoon I don't know too much about, but the modern bassoon, love it. Yeah, one of my favorite instruments. So underrated. Okay, 2 questions left. If you could have a drink with any musician, alive or dead, who would you have a drink with? I know that is an incredibly difficult question.
Wait. Alive. Maybe I would. No,
anyone.
Maybe it's too cheeky.
Doesn't have to be a classical musician either, but who are we going to say?
No, I was
Please
thinking.
Go with your heart here, Darina.
Yeah, I was thinking like my brain went like this, but no, of course, like Bach. Like I don't know, maybe he would not be interested, but but other than that, maybe like my ex-husband Darina Ablogina, he's like a very good piano player. I did not see him for a while, so it would be nice to have a drink with him.
Definitely. Also, the first person to say they want to go for a drink with their ex-husband. Well done.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and the very last question then is, which I feel like might be, I think we've already answered this, but do you have a favorite drink? And it can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic.
Water. Non-alcoholic, and otherwise I love drinking white wine, and especially a grape that is called Timorasso. Have you ever heard of that?
Never heard of it in my life.
It's like indigenous grape that grows in one region, and this is like unique. Timorasso is amazing. It's
Timorasso
in Italy. Yes.
Okay, so that's wonderful. Your favorite. Okay, then that's well noted. Thank you very much for coming on. Before we go, I should tell people where they can find you, where you're on social media. Just tell people quickly.
Yes, I'm on social media. I'm on YouTube, Darina Ablogina. I have Instagram, my podcast, Insight Reading Enlightenment. Literally, Sebastian is here with whom we
Yeah,
started.
there he is. I know, I thought the same thing. Yeah.
Anyways, and I also have Instagram. It's on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, on any other podcast platform that you know and you listen to. Anyway,
Yes,
you
beautiful.
find me everywhere. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Darina, for coming on. It's been a lot of fun.
Very much, Gareth.
I've had a lot of fun.
So great to get to know you.
I know.
Thanks
I get to know each other more.
for having me.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. I will see you all next week, whenever week that is. Who knows? Ciao, everyone.